Hey you guys, it's MJ from Alta Love. I like totally forgot that I put a 420 live stream for you guys this morning. I slept in and till 5:30. But I slept in cuz I had loads of emotion yesterday, like an insane amount. And I randomly saw like some issues around like old family patterns and stuff like that. Hi, Karen. How are you? And yeah, there was just a lot of emotion. And there was a couple times during the emotion that I was like, wowzers, this is hardcore emotion. And it reminded me, of course, of some of the Luna stuff and Adrian Elise and all these sort of astrology and or energy channels or what have you are sort of reflecting back a very similar storyline about like just keep going. It's interesting because that's in the Fearless Life Guide as well. And as a human, I got to just say, like, I guess it's like it requires a certain type of person to really feel into this work. And I am acknowledging that like people actually sitting with their emotions and feeling their emotions and getting a direct connection to like the stuff that we talk about and how stuff manifests in the world and stuff that we manifest in the world that we don't often connect the dots. And especially when so I have to say as an empath, especially if you've been round and round a bit of a pattern with somebody, it's fair enough to say that if the person is attacking your person, so if the person is starting to, yeah, just basically use examples that are just natural to your personality and then use them as like a horrible trait or a horrible thing, um, then I think you can safely say that dynamic is over. That we oh hi everybody. I hope that you guys haven't been waiting around. No, I know for a fact that you haven't because nobody was waiting. Thanks guys. No, I jest. I'm joking. I'm wanting to choose my words wisely this morning. Yeah, yesterday was a really intense day. As some of you know, actually, some of you were here when I had a proper emotion reaction. And part of and I appreciate those of you who commented and reached out to me thanking me. I really appreciate that. And those of you who reached out and said you had an emotional release, I'm really thankful for that. Because at that hour, I just looked down for an hour. We have seriously been here for an hour. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I oh look, and there's Lori as well. I just like sometimes I literally imagine like sitting in circle with you guys. Maybe this is the manifestation that we're sort of, laying down, right? Not like that. uh, uh, I just look forward to like congregating, It's been such a tough few years. And here's the thing with the empath. I guess I am needing to assist myself in this morning because of stuff that went down yesterday. And I guess it's like all this emotional stuff and all this manifestation and positive pro development stuff. It's tricky because especially as the empath, when we're in toxic situations, there's a weird part of the pattern that's comfortable for us because we're so used to kind of like being a servant to people, being a servant to community, being a servant to like what other people's needs are because we're so fixated on making everybody's life better and improving people's lives and being a good person or whatever. Like there's such that polarity. And what I guess something I'm realizing is like that's impossible. So trying is also impossible. And so if you're starting to come into your truth and your power and your authenticity, and there's still people that that you just feel like you can't be yourself, and or that like you being yourself is somehow offensive. And I'm like, because especially when this is like the empath narcissist thing as an empath, where it's like an empath just means that you feel other people's emotions, you know, you and that's why we understand each other. Is that this is a weird as far as the human population goes, and I'm increasingly finding that people are really reactive, and people don't sit with their anger and annoyance necessarily, and like and take ownership of the thoughts that they're thinking when they're feeling that stuff. They just, especially if it's surface level emotion, like getting annoyed or frustrated or angry, and then you just judge and place the person with all of those horrible qualities as the truth, but you don't think that it has anything to do with the thoughts that you're thinking or the feelings that you're feeling. And yet somebody who goes really deep and has been doing this work to uncover and has been changing their lives and making some strides in bettering their lives, and then I'm I guess I guess I'm realizing that there's a part of me that's still just healing from all of the fucking shitty abuse stuff, you know? Hey, hey, tree hugger, tree hugger. Okay, we love. Me too. And that's the thing. Like all this stuff is just manoodles, you know. And I guess, yeah, when you're just one, I'm premenstrual, so I'm like, hello, tears. And then, and two, I'm just having to have a lot of self nurturing and self compassion right now because I'm feeling, in some ways, because of this next level transition. Okay, and what I'm going to share with you is the scape. I'm going to share with you like the scape that I have been feeling into with these energies. There's a lot of beauty and excitement for sure, and there's a lot of innocence, and like the inner childs in so many are starting to come out. Um, but it's like not having the training wheels anymore, or not having the water wings, and going for the swim of our lives, or going, yeah. So we're like getting ready for battle, or we're just, or we're like assessing the damage after the storm. And yeah, group hugs, so much group hugs. And I guess maybe for me, this is me assessing my damage and just sort of like checking and being like, "You're all right," you know. And just because we couldn't find resolve, or just because something couldn't, be worked out the way both people maybe wanted, um, it doesn't make people wrong. It's just vibration. That's all it is. And yeah, and I guess that's like what I can share and honor with you. It's like I know the work I've been doing, and I know I know how paradoxical it looks to a lot of people when they're not quite anchored in their emotional body, is that they, and or they don't see the work, and or they're not willing to address their own emotions as part of the kind of reflective co-creative experience. So then again, the empath will, one, get pushed aside, or two, what I noticed, which I really was like, whoa, we start to act like the that circle. So if those are groups of people that talk shit behind each other's back, we might find ourselves doing the same. If um what was the one I was just thinking about? Oh, if these are people that never take responsibility, that never, basically it's like we do. By the way, I just want to say you guys are awesome. But we do tend to vibe dominantly with the people that we surround ourselves with, the people that we attach ourselves to, right? And for me in these last few months, navigating the new energies has been like taking my fucking time with people, right? And and I'm just really, really like, I don't know, it's like finally, and I never even knew like this feeling was possible, but finally just like totally 100% be feeling like in love with the self, and also in love with everything I've been through and all the people and all the characters and all the things, but also like so really feeling this like new world, this new like just being perched on the edge of the cliff, and it is the fucking most beautiful scene ever, and like you made it, and everything that's been before is perfectly fine, and like you're not attached to anything, and you're not holding any of this unconscious. So this was like there was some family daddy stuff that came up for me yesterday. I swear to God, this shit blindsides us sometimes because we don't. This is why it's weird as an adult doing this work, in yoga communities or where we think there's a certain way to be. Because I just am like seeing your unconscious or seeing your darkness and the way you interpret it. It's like it's a layers, layers. That's all I can say is layers. Like we think we're good and through something, and then we're gonna maybe see another. And just my personal like what's happening in my experience is that we really do somehow miraculously when we do the atonement, it literally will trace back to the moment of our birth point, and all of the since that like since that outworking, like since the moment that we became the light, everything has just been like unfolding ever since then. I'm talking universal birthing, cosmic origins, and then everything just gets unfolded from there. And so for us to jump vibrashe, or like for us as a humanity to jump frequency, um yeah, we're having to really, I think, help each other and support one another, um to really shift the false economy as well. And I guess it's one of those things where when you get onto your path and you truly feel en flow and in unity and in purpose and in alignment with the truth of your soul, ain't nobody and no thing gonna take you out of that. Like, especially if there's been a lot of denial and self-hurt and and maybe still are. I think it's really important for an empath to really like stay true to your heart and your mission, and really don't let people mess with your heart, you know? Hey, Chewbacca. Jessica T. Jessica T said true that. I'm like, oh thank God. Because right now the emotion is just a pouring out, and I'm clearly not talking at all about the shadow, the glamour shadow. This is the glamour shadow, you guys. Hey, Susanna. Mm. Hi, Elliot. How are you, my friend? No, no, I know. I honestly don't feel judgment. If anything, the weirdest thing about the internet world are like having a resonant connection with like regular energy that appears here, and then specific ties obviously with people that I'm working with sessions, and then like an energy tie with just regular chit chat hangout peeps, right? So many of us are either in similar worlds, and or so many of us are really very much, I would say, on the fringes, shooting into your galactic center ultimately. So I have so much love. In truth, really, like, who would have thunk it when we were growing up as little kids? If a lot of you are 80s babies, I don't know that for sure. In fact, I know that we have quite a varied age here, but like, who would have thunk it that we would have this internet thing when we were little, and we were being told, like, figure out what you want to do for a living, and we're like, okay, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. 3D reality construct, you only have these limited options, anything outside of that is unacceptable. um so, and now the world has just sort of vomited technology everywhere, and we're all like scrapping to try to put the pieces together and figure out how to allow this technology to benefit us. Okay, and this is part of the, I'm gonna actually go into the share topic. I shall not delete things, but I wasn't even gonna go live today because I was like, I'm just gonna take a day, but like my friends are here. So the Glamour Shadow and Darkness Disclosure. So this is already happening. Like a lot of us on various yeah, fireman, lawyer, internet, what? Yeah. Um like, and internet stars. Like, it's like old paradigm or more old paradigm people meeting young internet people, or like, sorry, what, you're an influencer? You make money in the internet? Like, I even weird telling people about the work I do, even for, there are still a lot of people that don't get this, that don't get the YouTube, don't get the online coaching platform. And the thing is, as well, I'm here having a massive leap and gap where I'm like, there's still so many people that aren't aware that their thoughts create things, that their emotions are their guidance. I'm like, they're not, and so I just took these massive leaps, like dropped in, anchored in really deep, and then realized, oh my God, there's fewer and fewer people that are in that resonant connection with their own emotional field. And in the daily practice, they're not owning their feelings. They're just going through life, going through the motions of life, doing what they think they're meant to be doing, to be this or be that, or be a good person, or, you know, be a good son, be a good brother, be a be a good person. And so we fucking exhaust ourselves. Oh, okay. You know, can I just be, I'm very professional. People often say that about me. You might laugh when I say these things because you're like, psh. But it is true. Hi, Revel. I'm sort of anchored in neutrality. It's sort of boring. That's a good thing. I think it's important for us to be able to access the neutrality, right? And the weird thing is, even though you guys get to see lots of like energy here, that, again, this is part of why we're called to certain platforms. Like, this isn't, a lot of the ways in which and the things that I share here are a surprise even me. Like, when I started my YouTube channel, I never imagined that I'd be sharing my emotional storms with you guys and being like, this is the work. Like, I really did not. Like, that didn't appeal to me. I was like, yeah, I'll talk about, because I was studying A Course in Miracles and like kind of following the Gabby Bernstein path and going to like A Fest and investing in myself and working with coaches and healers and doing courses and doing healing courses and doing all this stuff, and then taking all these leaps and following the intuition and da 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 da. And the truth is, my entire reality has transformed. I'm just having to, I want to say, integrate it fully and allow it to settle, allow it to continue to unfold as it comes in, and allow it to settle, and then allow myself to keep shedding and keep processing, keep doing the work that I share in the Fearless Life Guide. And because it's emotional and invisible, this is something else I'm realizing, is that people can, anything that we produce as a creator, people are going to interpret it however they want. So it's interesting to me, even though I'm the author of a certain book, people, um, I'm aware as the author that there are some people who either say they read the book, or no, I wouldn't even put it that way. I would say they didn't get it, and they don't get it. Because for the most part, the only thing that I'm really ever talking about in that book is that our emotions are our own, and whatever is triggering us is triggering our own emotion. And the better we can do to detach from thought and feel the depth is ultimately a vibrational shift. We all talk about moving up a vibrational ladder. Well, most people don't shift their vibration very much because they're unwilling to feel what's beyond annoying, what's beyond anger, what's beyond frustration. They just keep telling it, it's you. You're the only reason I'm frustrated. You're the da 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 da. And if somebody is here, it is self-protection. Oh my god, divine sight, that literally makes me wanna, like, cry as far as right, right. Water sharing about the empathy and crystal trident, how they can be so right. Electricity, large groups of people. A lot of our hospitals and our schools, they're unsacred geometry. The way that they were built was meant to numbify us, right? Whereas buildings, like think about Hobbit and think about when you think about more. So I've visited New Earth, Sasha, New Earth Project, right? And like the way all of the architecture was built was really quite different, but like it all flows. There's this sort of energetic synergy when we build and create in alignment with that biofeedback resonance field, right? Versus, oh my God, divine sight, thank you. Like, because sometimes when I leave here and I'm still like healing and processing and transforming my personal 3D reality, I like I'm here because I still need this community of support to like to remind myself that like, oh yes, there are lots of other people who are doing this work and feeling this way. And I guess sometimes it's really nice to have some people to reflect back like it's safe to let go. And it's really important to let go because these things, are so important. And so many people just don't want to address it or think about it and I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm not going to stop thinking about it. I'm not going to be quiet because it's inconvenient for people, I'm not going to try to dumb myself down because people don't like what I have to say because it triggers them. And I'm tired of making excuses for my feelings when other people never own their own feelings, Ah, ooh, ee. So square is a lie. Everything is triangular. Is that to do with the sacred geometry and how a lot of structures that were built in like a square imprint? That kind of makes sense to me weirdly with the Saturn grid. Square, it like cuts people up. Whereas with sacred or with triangular, it's I think about kind of the Merkaba. And then I also think about the actual energetic structure of triangle versus square. I know, it will be really nice when we get to the a point where we just know the triggers are there and we just like well, this is the thing with people who have read my book who really get the book. That's where and this is a very Capricorn thing. This is where I know my Capricorn energies are coming out stronger. Is that it was almost like the little girl empath in me was like, I can't be responsible for other people's emotions anymore. Like that way of being is gonna fucking kill me and any other empath. So here, this is this is how we can clear it. And and so the book is just laying that down that like I can't live in being responsible for other people's emotions. And then since publishing the book and taking these leaps, I've slowly but surely in all these different cycles been attracting people who have read my book and then either booked sessions or, done the whole coaching thing with me. And now these are like my inner circle. These are my nearest and dearest because they get me so intimately because they understand what I'm talking about in the book. And they also respect that, where I'm starting to see this sort of polarity of like how little I must have respected myself, even though I had a huge ego, even though, like even though I was rocking my yoga career and doing all these things, I don't know. Life is so fucking weird sometimes, right? And yeah, and having those mirror experiences with people is so wild. And somebody saying like we're mirroring and you're just like, right. And but if you're just only mirroring the shadow and the ugliness in one another, then I think it's fair to say you've done a full circle and it's complete. Karma is complete. People often yell at me to be quiet. Yeah. I've had people shush me and stuff like that. Interesting, Elliot. Your book was confrontational. Maybe that's why a lot of people don't read it. Or those are the people that read it and then like slowly didn't want to work with me anymore. Like, I even had people in the I know I'm like venting. I'm premenstrual and I've had a pretty tough couple days, so whatever. I'm literally just like hanging out with my besties, having coffee and stuff. Um, but I'm just like amazed at, I don't know, yeah, what it's done. And like that the book is really talking the same talk that everyone else. I just really try to open the conversation, the door around all these deeper emotions. And the fact is, the reason why people are so reactive is because people don't sit with their emotions and they don't meditate. So if I'm sitting here dealing with my emotions and meditating and journaling and being really present with my thinking and being super diligent and thinking the best for me and the thing best for everybody, like if other people aren't doing that, the empath starts to feel the projections of other, and or we start to act out the projection. If somebody is not responsible, they're going to keep you where they think you are. So you're going to continue to act out the projection that that person carries of you, which means there's at that point it's over because you can't go into their mind and change their mind and or try to get them to understand this stuff. If somebody's read my book and they don't get me, then they're never going to get me at this point, I guess I'm just really, it's the culmination cycle. I'm now finally just really letting go of, I guess, some of the last layers of my old life. And sometimes I think we hold on because we're holding on to a fantasy. We're holding on to something that isn't even real, which is the weirdest thing. Obviously, fantasy is it's a projected reality. It's not grounded in the now. Basically, truth is typically denied before it's embraced. I do sometimes remind me of stuff like that. Like, oh, maybe it's just germinating in the collective. Maybe it's just take a little while for people to say like that's a good book. People should read it. Like, but I guess this is the weird flip is that the new way of being is super expansive, but it's deep. It requires us think about being okay. I would say this is a pretty relevant like polarity description of like for me personally the empath community and where we're headed as far as like another timeline of humanity and that you can see all these different timelines in the here now expression. But I think about Avatar, look me wearing blue. And like I don't know about like sometimes I get into these meditations where I'm like literally like pulsing up and down, like feeling the rhythm of the earth. I'm just like in some like transcendent state, but feeling really juicy and awesome. And that's but what I find the more I grow into like the Avatar, I'm just gonna massage my ego right now, you guys, because why not? But like me embodying the energy of the Avatar, they're kind of intense, aren't they? They're not like frivolity. And I find in a weird way, and I kind of like I'm having to learn how to love this part of myself, but I'm just serious and intense. And I do embrace and want to have a good time, and da, 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 but like this being feeling like you're on a mission, like feeling when you as a kid that you see all the pain and then feeling like you're on a mission. Now again, you and I we all know that we're not meant to take on the burdens of the world all the time. But for the empath, it's like this deep, deep heart of like mission. Like I'm literally here to shine my love for all of humanity. See, that makes me want to cry. Ugh. And like many of us surrender and we're like, take my life. Like honestly, just take my life if that would make things better for everybody. I don't, it's that kind of thing, legit. And then, um, and then MJ is just emotion. Oh, you guys. Hey, Christian. I know someone has to take responsibility, right? And like more and more of us. Oh, thank you, tree hugger. I can see his thing. Be the inner avatar, Smurf. Oh, Smurf. I love Smurfs as well. I used to watch that show too, and they're blue too, aren't they? Although, isn't it weird that there was only ever one girl Smurf? Like, hi. There's only one girl Smurf, you guys. How did that work? Like, poor girl. I don't. Oh, yeah. So, Avatar, I was talking about how I feel like I've, like, I guess, like, grown into my avatar because, and you joke about the Smurf thing, but what I was thinking about the polarity is that we as the human are, like, especially ideally us in this community are evolving into the avatar, like into these long-legged, I don't know, but they're awesome, aren't they? They fly on dragons, and they're peaceful and rhythmic and community oriented, and they have fun, and they fly and they play, and it's totally in unity with Earth, right? And then I think about the polarity of another timeline, which which is why we need each other so hardcore, because by the looks of things, it would look like this is the dominant timeline. But then you have that movie Wall-E. So here I am, these like spiritual empathic warriors rising into their heart space, being like, love shall heal. So yeah, we have that kind of story of the human avatar, like the human rising into a higher evolved state. And then and then you have another timeline of humans becoming more and more sedentary and just having technology support their shopping and consuming, basically. And then you can imagine, like, this idea of the controller system, just like having these technological contraptions everywhere that basically harness the life force, that suck the life force out of our bodies. I'm glad that you like all those movies, you guys. Hmm. Lori, Smurfette. I'm like, thank you. Yes, that's correct. What did I say? Just a she Smurf? A she Smurf? Hey, Falcon. So yeah, and you guys missed out. Like, I went up and down crying. And I love it because, so, when you're feeling the steadiness and you're like, well, I've been steady for days or week. I'm usually days, but like, I've been like just steady and feeling really grounded and feeling blah, blah, blah. And then just suddenly, like, literally out of nowhere, a couple triggers come in and you're just like, ah, pretty much once a month, usually. Okay, you guys. So really, this is a chit chat, isn't it? Like, I'm trying to be professional and get to the point, but I'm not really getting to the point, I guess, because I have so much love here, and I still have that weird default of, like, I'm getting to this place where I'm like, this is normal, right? Like, this is the new normal. Us talking on this level, taking responsibility, endeavoring this manifestation, like talking about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about privilege and historical context and blah blah blah, right? Um, that's what replay is for. Fair enough, right? Um, and so we're moving through, and all these big dreams that we were all kind of sold are kind of all being ripped out from under the rugs from us, because really we're not here to necessarily achieve what our ego wants. We're here to heal these distorted patterns in humanity. And see, as I say that, I'm really outworking abuse here, because I'm noticing how when people just sit in judgment of certain things you do or the type of person you are, it like builds up. And then it's really confusing for an empath, because in their presence, you act out in subtle ways, you act out the behavior they're projecting onto you. And then I'm like, but that's not, seriously. And this is something else I'm honoring. If any of you guys are an empath who's like healing from cycles of abuse, it might take a while. Like, it can take months to properly, if not years. And like, that's something I'm honoring in subtle ways, even though I've had really positive, business turns and financial turns. There's a deeper healing now and a deeper releasing of acknowledging and seeing how emotional abuse works. And again, of course, for the people that are swinging more into like not feeling their emotions, all of this stuff that we talk about would be extraordinarily um dramatic, or, oh, what a weird perspective, right? um because they're not present. they're not in their heart. And so it's essentially impossible to have a conversation because you've got somebody going around mental patterns, and then you have the empath that's sitting with their heart trying to process everything that's going on. And eventually, as the empath, you will just hit rock bottom. And it just means you'll hit a point where for sure that you're better off on your own than you are dealing with people that who are never responsible, you know? And this is the where manipulation comes in, is that it can be covert, it can be cunning. So they will drudge up, they will keep kind of, and I can honestly say, and I know that when we're working this stuff, this is why we need separation, because everything the empath says, once they're being backed in, once they're being like totally denied basically for their experience, once that happens, that's when the emotional manipulation feels as though it's killing you or it's totally oppressing you. So you can't be your same self. Like, I noticed that there were certain people like I couldn't be myself with, and I was like, something's up. And maybe it's fear. And the thing is, for me at this point, I'm like, I do get it. I do know the work that I do. And this is why people who read the book once and then hone in on one of my behaviors and tell me that, because and using my work against me in that moment, I'm like, that's not fair ultimately. Guys, I'm totally rambling on, by the way. I'm like, just, you know what? I gotta say, I'm proud of myself because right now I'm literally just letting myself share and vent and be supported. It's pretty fucking useful on YouTube because it's silent support. I could just pick and choose. I could just pick and choose the comments that I want to read and like feel love from you guys and feel like no matter how much of a shitty person I've been in my life, that things are gonna get better. Mm. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. So do you know what? Like, it feels like I'm finally letting go of like this very deep underlying pattern of me believing that I'm a burden for people because of all of this, because of all the feelings. And I just like, yeah, I guess I said it yesterday in my proper like share, but I was basically like, as long as there is oppression in the world, I'm not gonna stop myself from feeling. And yesterday I finally tapped on a wound of just being a burden for people. And again, it's not about blaming our parents or blaming the people in our lives that were the one that seemingly created the wound. It's that like we chose that. We chose that perspective in a sense, right? Uh, thank you. Yeah, right, because yeah, I just don't think there's anything wrong with all the feelings, and I've realized based on yesterday, I'm like, I was still carrying and or outworking. I'd prefer to say I've been outworking that wound basically, and weird. I just noticed how I was still kind of, and all it is again, it's very subtle feelings, but I just noticed how with certain people I was still kind of tightening myself into this ball, trying to please or serve. Um, because my initial childhood imprint was that me being sensitive and emotional is definitely a burden. And this would have been like some experience where my dad got home from work, or, he was just having a bad day and I was just too much, and someone who didn't have the time, the energy, or the emotional awareness to just give me a hug, you know? So right now, this is like me giving me a hug of like, you're not a burden, you know? And I'm and like, look at me, what the fuck? This is what's so weird. I'm like, why is this my life? This is like the weirdest thing about paradigm shift. I thought I knew. And I'm super sensitive because that's like another wound that somebody felt the need to tell me is that I come across as a know-it-all and a loudmouth and like, thanks. I barely talk to anyone other than people that pay me quite good money to be who I am, but thanks for reminding me of all my childhood insecurities, right? There again, all this stuff, I'm not blaming this person. I'm just suddenly acutely aware. I'm like, holy shit. I'm working through, you know, the dad stuff. I was like written in the stars, fucking astrology, basically. I have no feelings. Who needs them? Don't worry, I'll feel all the feelings for everybody. And this is something as well. I'm like, people don't sit with their feelings. I'm like, except the people that do. Those of us who actually know what I'm talking about. I'm like, you guys ever just like sit there for hours and cry and like, but actually allow the waves where again, I'm not thinking about stuff. There's just this wave motion happening inside my body where I'm like, it will get there and then there'll be a wave and then it will kind of calm down and then they'll hit there and then there'll be another wave and then it will calm down. And like sometimes it is really relevant. Sometimes in an emotional storm, it is a karma. It is clear out. Yesterday didn't realize it, but there was still this unconscious belief in me that I was a burden to the men in my life. So yeah, and again, like this has been I've been working on this and delayering this for years, looking at my hatred, looking at my unconscious mistrust, looking at all the shitty projections I have about men, which hi, I'm not alone, and men have the same shitty projections towards us. And the emotional piece is pretty big because historically speaking, men just work really hard and don't feel emotions. But at this point, it's our emotional body that's got to break. And people are and or I'm just having to teach myself the importance of letting go. Because if people don't want to deal with their emotions, if people don't get it, that's the issue. If people don't get it, I can't be around them because my point of attraction is just perpetual expansion, openness, love, development, bliss, prosperity. And it's so fixated and so focused on that it's like the emotions, like they become like this tunnel. And it's like such a focused pillar of light and like intent focus that only people that actually vibrate that intention with you can hold you. Although they might manipulate you, they might lie to you to make you believe that they're there, that they're with you, but energetically speaking, if it's not, it's not. And the divine feminine now balance. Oh yes. Hey. Just blessed all of our aloneness. Oh, Elliot, man, fuck. The aloneness piece has hit me hard, and I watched some astrology yesterday that like reflected that around there. I don't know. Now we're heading into like an eclipse season, and there's this woman. What's her name? I think her name's Pamela Gregory. She's British, but she's fabulous, and she said something about that a lot of these paradigm shifting energies now are taking us into this sense for a lot more of us of needing and desiring those communities. Of course, what we're if you guys are resonating with me loads, it's the fact that we've been dipping in and out of certain communities and actually had to keep going to then continue to build our own. And there's going to be many, many more of us that are kind of just vibrationally congregating via our integrity, authenticity, and our truth. And then that is what calls in the tribe. That's the kind of resonance connection. You don't want to abandon me. You can accept me for who I am and all of the craziness, And I'm like, yay, because I'm a loving person. Practice hard, helping people feel good. Blah 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 blah. Just, yeah. And oh yeah, thanks, Lori. So then the astrology that we're moving into is like, oh my god, like what's up? But then it's gonna keep bottoming out our old default patterns or default setting patterns from old paradigm control issues, and then we're gonna keep up leveling. So we are continuing to move into the that new paradigm energy. It's just way more intense. Look, oh, clear. Yeah, I get that. The loneliness, oh, it's so excruciating. So the loneliness is, I would say, a flip aspect creation of our own self-abandonment stuff. Because a lot of this depth of aloneness that I've been feeling, I've been traversing these again, looking more the subtlety of emotional abuse, which again just means that so if you really get this self-development stuff, this owning your emotional field, then it becomes increasingly impossible to hang out with people that don't, because then those people aren't addressing their deeper wounds and they're constantly in reactivity that are pushing you against, and then eventually they'll project their shit, and then there's nothing you can do because they're not conscious of it. They literally think that you're just a crazy stupid person who just every time you speak just trigger, oh, they're so annoyed, and you're like, okay. like okay, I'm not responsible. I Yeah, just that. And so for somebody being truly self-responsible, you can't hang out with people that are not truly self-responsible, because they'll end up manipulating you, because that's just what people do, apparently. I don't know if that's accurate. Oh my god, what mood am I in today? And so yeah, intense astrology basically is the word, is the pulse on the street. All these squares. So basically all of our illusions and fantasies, all the stuff that's not good for us, all the shit, all the distorted ways that we're trying to control people. And then ultimately the stuff that's not aligned anymore. The stuff that's not true. The people that don't really believe in us, the people who just want to control us or just want to keep us in their little box of what works for them. That's not going to carry us through. We know that energetically. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I let myself for so long feel so bad about just wanting to feel special, and somebody being like, I'm pretty sure I do that. You're like, I'm pretty sure I'm still not feeling it. And like, it would be nice if this stuff happened, and this time they're like, okay, but like maybe once, and you're like, oh, but I want to keep feeling special and keep feeling a part of something and keep feeling in this kind of. And that's because I've developed that and created that in other areas of my life. I'm like, it's very possible. Like, you just have to keep going. And if somebody's not owning their shit, you just want to cut. Because here's the thing: all of relationships are eternal. All of us are eternal, infinite beings. So us getting too precious about all these little life dramas that we're acting out, just keep transforming your emotion. But not very invested. Interesting. Yeah, I'm merging in and out of that, actually, as far as like not letting the loneliness be consuming, but actually embracing it as a transitional phase as well. That has to do with the depth of my, like, I guess, inner work as well, and the mysticism is that I am, and a lot of us are naturally introvert. We're naturally wanting to deduce and work it out. And that's something as well where the inner circle of vibrashe for me are all like us, and as far as we do the work, because it's like, yeah, you can't do both. You can't play both sides. You can't, um and as well, that's what like really shone to me, is that once we kind of expand or evolve past a certain vibration, it's really easy to see where people are coming from and to like see what they're holding, see what they're projecting, um and also see how what people say about you is actually stuff they do. So it's really weird hearing somebody project onto me my past behavior, which I can own and be like, yeah, I did that. Like, I was super insecure and trying to prove myself. So I used to do these certain things, and like I'm not that person anymore. And yet all the stuff this person was saying was stuff that they do now to me. And it was just really weird. And I was like, oh, okay. And weirdly, I'm like, I don't really see there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But then, ugh, sorry guys. Clearly, I'm like doing loads of release this week with the full moon and fucking solstice. It's just relentless with the planets always moving around. Like, stop moving. Let us just rest in peace. I think we are getting there though. Do you guys? I might just like share or what I want to say is change. Hey, Raven Wolf channel, let it flow, let it flow. So, yeah, projections. Yeah, and that's straight up. Like, if you hang out with people that it feels really shitty and uncomfortable to hang out with them, then or if you're hanging out with somebody and in a repetitive cycle getting triggered or not triggered, because I want to say like holding space and being clear about how you feel, and then every time that you're around this person, you end up acting in a certain way. I'm like, but it's not natural to your character. There's a projection, as in we act out each other's projections. So again, I would say when a relationship is on its way out, that's what happens, is that both parties just start projecting on all of the worst shit that they see that they don't want to look at in themselves, basically. And that's something, another thing where I can put my hands up. Like, I am always looking at myself and always working and taking responsibility. So at this point, it's so easy to just cut out the other and not tolerate the other because, well, yeah, especially when people pay you good money to work it out for them, and you can't help being who you are. I can't help wanting to help people shift these energies. I can feel them. I can feel the density. I can feel the confusion. I don't want people to have to be a slave in that old working paradigm. I don't want people to feel less than because they're not rich. I don't want people to feel less than for any reason at all. And yet, oftentimes, just the people that we are make people feel that way. Deep down, they don't feel worthy. They don't, or they just think, well, fuck you. You think, like they have this sort of mean angle at you because you're not like them, because you're not a slave, or because you actually do love yourself. And if people don't fully love themselves and keep loving themselves and keep loving themselves and keep loving themselves, then you don't meet up with people who love themselves. You meet up with people who complain and bitch and moan, and you meet up with people who are poor and da-da-da. And I'm not judging any of us. When I say financially poor, I'm not judging any of us when it comes to our wealth and abundance mindset. Because I understand as much as any other entrepreneur or business person or just general life liver. I'm like, we have ups and we have downs. Just because you bottom out financially doesn't mean that you're unworthy. Okay. Just because you bottom out financially, if anything, those are good signs. When everything is taking away from you, be in your knowing that there's good stuff coming in, that your whole life is transforming itself, that you're not going to control the incoming, but trust that you're moving to a new level. Hence why everything that you thought you cared about and that you thought you loved is going to get taken away. I have such a passion for yoga. I really do. And yeah, I just do. It's sort of a gift. And I have such joy when I teach. However, these are more subtle shifts that have happened in my reality, is that what I don't truly align with is having to be a slave to it either, And so freedom, what does freedom feel like? Until you don't. Right. And Lori, that's something I'm navigating right now. I was like, oh, so you just literally have to be able to walk away. Because again, if somebody else isn't responsible, they just unconsciously keep projecting that shit onto you. And you're like, why can't I? Why isn't it? Blah, 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 blah. Or like, why is it that I'm feeling this way? And then the moment I did it, or how come I'm perpetually going into these cycles and feeling this way? Because they're not fucking shifting. They just expect you to behave properly. They just expect you to fit into whatever it is that they think their world should be. And then any feeling or any moment that you in your truth have a desire for a change or has a need that you need fulfilled, if they're not truly in love with self, they then interpret that as like you're attacking my person, right? And you're like, no, I'm not attacking, I'm just desiring this continual unfolding. Well, how dare you? You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have taken those leaps. Nobody cares. You might have a few bits. That's also nice, the people that love you who then tell you that your book has a few little nuggets that are nice for people. I'm like, thank you. So yeah, you must really care about me and the work that I do to talk about my book that way. Oh, see, guys, I need to delete this. I'm literally just having a major processy day, right? Not missing it. Freedom maybe feels like not missing it. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I kind of like, this is the weird thing. Even though I'm emotional and processing stuff today, like I don't miss it. This is the thing about the empath and truly fucking healing from emotional abuse. I know, I know 100% in my being, like without a shadow of doubt, that I'm better off alone. And it's not some victim like sob story. I'm just literally like, I'm free. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can say whatever the fuck I want. Nobody can stop me. I can be exactly who I want to be and it won't matter. And people who judge and hate, they'll never stop me, And yeah, you don't, freedom is the truth. So I can't at this point let other people judge how far I've come in my own freedom plight, you know? Because it feels so fucking good. And I'm like, I'm free here and better off here than going round in circles trying to justify the person that I am, you know, with people who essentially just want to protect their way of being, which isn't necessarily fully responsible. It's maybe semi responsible, but to protect themselves, they're just going to blame you and not address their feelings and not go deeper into their feelings, right? And this is something that there's where a lot of people this is my thing as well. I'm uh this stuff is challenging. There's no doubt about it. Feeling all of our pain, feeling of all of our shit. The point for me was that it's our unconscious wounds and traumas that's also creating this Wally world, right? So in my reality, I'm like, I have to process all this to actually get clear and be able to be a clear channel for people. So my work and my life unfolding on this planet depends on that clarity. For me, I don't even know where that came from exactly, but like it's like the yoga teacher. We practice yoga. That's why we get called to teach it. We practice feeling and breathing and living in our bodies. That's why we're guided to teach it. Similarly, a lot of these inner thoughts and perspectives that I've had, they feel good, so I've been guided to share them. I've been guided to speak about it. And and again, so easily what I've noticed, and think about it, this is what people have done with the Bible. People take one fucking line and use it against you. So people in take it out of context, and because they don't want to own what they're feeling, they just slam you for what you're feeling and then say, see, you're not doing what you preach. You're not blah 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 blah. And I kind of just sat there being like, and there it is. I'm in a situation in the here now present where I'm being denied and the other person's feelings are are also being denied, but their mental projection is being acted out. So they're right. They're right. So your feelings are invalid. And at that point, you can just be like, we're not meeting. You're working from your mental body. I'm working in my emotional body and aligning my mental body through the emotional body. It's different. You ask someone to be in their heart and feel and be vulnerable, and they just stay annoyed at you and just keep telling you to that you're wrong and that and you think, I'm in my heart trying to feel and be open. And that is something that I've always endeavored to be and to do with people. And at this point, I'm just too sort of turned on to that manipulation. And it's challenging because it's covert. It's not obvious. These are kind people, nice people, attractive people, privileged people, you know? But at the end of the day, they're just people. They're just people. I just don't know why I've I can work it out in some ways, but, like, how is it that I've spent the majority of my life just attracting these people where I've literally done whatever I thought possible? Like, even all my, like, the things people don't like about me, I'm like, I probably did that because I thought that was it made me special or important, or maybe it made them like me more, you know? And then realizing that the things you find that the things you're most insecure about, that the things that you find quite challenging about yourself anyway, that somebody uses that. Especially when they lie, hang out with people who gossip and lie, you know, and you're just like, you literally fabricated a lie about somebody and then chose to believe it, and then you project it onto them and you bring that stuff out of them when that's not even like who they are. And I think I'm gonna cry a lot today. I only have 2 sessions, and I just wanna cry from all the healing. Oh god. Hey E, give 'em love. Really love how you guys, like, just love each other. Buh. Buh. Oh my god, it's coming up so intense. It's almost like having this memory of, like, being like this and just having people, like, laughing and pointing at you and stuff, you know? Holy shit, you guys. I don't know how to describe it, but for real, like, ugh, I don't know what it is. Like, the nature of my tears has actually, like, so this is really weird. Yeah, this is really weird for some reason. I'm like, one of my challenges throughout my life is I don't find it very easy to ask for help, you know? And for some reason right now, I'm just, and I know that you guys are already here for me, but I'm just like, just pray for me and I'll pray for you and I'll and then I'm like, and then we'll pray for all of humanity because really all we want is for all of humanity to be joyful, joyful and happy. And I'm just getting this random insight about healing and like healing modalities. And I'm like, you know, we're increasingly aware of how modern medicine can create and then solve an issue, but just blanket the issue. And I'm like, to me, all of the other energy stuff externally, it's all par for the course. It's all getting us there. Um, but for me, I guess with all of this stuff, it really does just come back to the self. And maybe life will prove me horribly wrong, you know? But there came a point in my own awareness where I was like, you know, it's the self. It's only knowing the self. So if I just keep going deeper and knowing that there's toxic pattern if we deny the self, and that that's like an accumulation of shadow aspect, right? And like, so you can't live in denial anymore, basically. And again, the way I see it is so long as there's acts of violence and so long as there's like ugliness going on out there in the world, there's more energy for us to transform. There's pain for us to feel. And so far what I'm noticing in the collective, and this is kind of relevant to what the original topic of this was going to be, but like we jumped and again it's all relevant to our learning, but we kind of jumped ship, but we just jumped into a similar ship, if that makes sense. So instead of jumping ship into the water and actually fucking swimming to a new shore, some people just went from one ship to another and it was like, see, this ship is better, everybody. Come to this ship. See, I know. So poo-poo alternative or sort of poo-poo modern medicine and then pretend to have the almighty answers with various other. And I guess what I'm realizing is like the radicalness of self-responsibility is not for everybody. And I am really, and this is in A Course in Miracles, it says this, like, teacher of God will never go like looking for students. Like the student comes to yeah, the student comes to you because of the light that you're radiating, basically. They find you, and you can wait and wait without anxiety. So you don't go forcing the divine down people's throat because they can't receive it if they're not open to it. And I guess I'm just like increasingly aware of where we've come, where we've gotten to, where we've been, and we're still alive and all is not lost. Yeah. As self, right. And that's you and I, Elliot, have talked about that with yoga. And in the first constructs in the yoga practice, it's self-study. And Ellie and I we're both yoga teachers and longtime yoga teachers. So it's like we had that chat about how the true self-study comes when you let go of external knowledge seeking. And how dare I, right? How dare I, as a modern woman, only use my own self as the teacher, right? How dare I, right? People are like, well, where'd you get that? Or da 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 da. And or apparently I regurgitate rhetoric all the time and quote different people. I, in fairness, consciously stopped doing that way back in 2014 because my mother called me out on it. She was damn tired of hearing, well, so and so said this. Well, in this book, this person said this, and da 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 da. Like, honestly, what's your life? What's your experience? Self-study in yoga. And dare I say, if we're missing that bit in our yoga practice, if we're not reflecting, if we're not, journaling, and or it's not specific to journaling, but if you're not going over cycles and reflecting on yourself and your behavior and da da da, then you're not really doing yoga. You're doing glamorized stretching with some nice relaxation, and some nice mindfulness practice. But like yoga is so total that we have to understand that when we're in our 3D reality, we're usually just getting these like superficial snippets of the depth of some of this spiritual practice. And there again, what I notice in our communities is that the financial piece is motherfucking huge. And the way we play our slave games with one another to survive, this is the ultimate fucking corruption on this planet. It's well beyond divine sights. Also, you got a space, don't you? And are all up in the yoga world. Yeah, then it just ain't yoga, right? Oh, hi, Kurt. How are you, my friend? You reminded me of how I felt when Donald Trump became president. It felt like a revolutionary change in world towards transforming insensitivity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually do see that as part of Trump's function. Trump is a sort of representative of some of the deep polarity that we're healing. As in, you can't deny that he's a racist, sexist, blah blah, and he wears it. He wears himself proudly. The man has zero compassion or spiritual awareness of unity, and yet he's the president of one of the most powerful countries of the world. So that is he is symbolic of our divisive nature. He is symbolic of the inner conflict that we're all outworking. And so long as we continue to blame Trump for all of our problems, we're not shifting. I That's what's so weird about dealing with just our day-to-day life and relationship, and then actually being present in our essence here. That's why I'm so thankful for you all in this community, because every day I get to show up and remind myself that it's okay to be who I am, and that, like, I'm doing great. And just because other people don't think that, or just because stuff that you guys might like about me, there's been other people in my life who really don't, and so I'm like, finally, I'm like, holy shit, I actually get to be who I am, and I actually get to, like, make a rockin' living being me. I remember years and years ago having a manifestation check. I'm talking like early 2000s MoFlo lovers. I had like a hefty check, and I didn't want to have any conditions to my ability to make money and to manifest. So I just basically wrote like number figure. It was a lot. It was a lot of money, okay? Because I need, if you're here to support New Paradigm community, you're gonna have to have some resource, to support your loved ones and your international community of leaders. But instead of it having any conditions attached, like I'll make this much money when I do this, or when I work this hard, or pardon me, or when I like achieve some status. But no, it was just like, this is my net worth, or whatever it was, just for being me. So essentially, what I noodled when it came down to manifestation, I started to learn about it. I was like, oh, okay. So what is it? What do I really want? I'm like, I want to just be infinitely lovingly supported, abundantly supported, with this overflowing of resources to just share this. Yeah, I just keep getting this overflowing fountain. And I'm like, that desired reality is coming from the heart space, and I've just been focusing on that for so long, and then watching all these different veils get lifted in my reality, and then it's like, and then we're here, and I'm like, I'm still safe, I'm still alive, I'm still doing it. um mm. Randomly, I'm looking down at my notes. Professional. And I'm looking at like the darkness disclosure, and that's kind of relevant. That's what we just talked about with mm, Trump. So like President Trump as a president is a part of the darkness disclosure piece. So again, somebody who so obviously is very divisive, he's sort of shining light on that aspect of us, right? Of all of us. You are, what's that great meme thing of something like, the devil whispered in my ear, like, you're never gonna make it, and then I whispered back, it's you are. Like, you with apostrophe re. It's like a classic nerdy, I don't know, nerdy, but like, yeah, we've all been there, as in correcting people's spelling. What's this fog? I think being a part of change is important. I do as well. And okay, and this must be another wave. So here's me holding space for literally like all of humanity, no matter what. All the murderers and drug dealers and, entitled privileged twats who I rant about a lot. Like, everybody. I'm just like, I love all of you. I love all of humanity. I believe in all of us. I believe in all of us. I know that we can all make this leap. I know that we can all do this together. I know that we can have all the answers if we just fucking believe, right? So it's like staying in that space of just love, of just love, of just love, and then essentially just expecting and knowing that there's going to be these more shifting and shifting and shifting, and more divine coming in, and more like divine love flowing out, and then eventually that regenesis will completely be the manifested reality. Why? Because I've spoken to people who are there already. I've spoken to people who are living that infinite elixir flow, but there's just more and more and more waves that are awakening of the world's corruption. Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, in fairness though, Kurt, like that is kind of one and the same. So, but I get it as far as like not giving him this grand spiritual title. Yeah, absolutely. But I do think, in fairness, actually, I do like that. I think that has been part of his function on a divine level, to be the caricature, to be the representation of the depth. I guess our all this stuff that I talk about, the depth of our corruption, of our entitlement, of our lack of compassion, our, all this stuff that I think for many of us, or certainly for myself, I just assumed that we would all want more love and compassion and therefore would do whatever it takes to kind of have that and experience that and live that and see that. And because of the emotional stuff, I find myself often hitting up against people's reactivity. And then once that reactivity is there, unless they really know the practice, they'll just kind of keep you fixed in place, right? So the darkness disclosure is just all happening now. It's sort of like also becoming aware of like the MK Ultra programming stuff. I've begun the Elixir Flow experience perspective. Awesome. Mhm. That is a really nice way to describe how I've felt this experience, since 2016 is when I took the leap, which brought me into the what do you say, elixir flow experience perspective. I often so part of me, my tangible like experience of like that, what you wrote down is like often in my personal reality, whether I'm like in deep emotion or like running or like feeling really floaty and high, is like I actually have feelings of, like, being supported. I know that sounds weird, but, like, it's like love is literally, like, supporting my body through, and the integrity of it is that increasingly so, I cannot be out of my integrity, not for very long. It's what I mean about when you start behaving in covert ways and you're like, "But that's not in my nature, so why am I doing that?" Because that's how other people behave. And unless you're again, unless you get it, you just don't get it, and that's fine, and that's totally fine. I see more people being a part of the world this year than before. Awesome. Even last year, I was so caught up in waiting for the big event turning point to become that I was stressing myself out, not even doing anything to contribute to it. Nice. Brilliant. So this is part of that we're here. Like, because this conversation to me is a conversation just in new paradigm energies where we're all self-responsible. We're all pretty much self-reflective. We're all natural yogis, whether we're doing asanas or not, right? Because we're reflective, and because we're self-responsible, we're desiring to be responsible for the one self, which is the self of all, not dividing us up and worrying solely on our personal survival to get ahead and to be good in this world, i.e., that feeds a dualistic ego, right? Which is usually based in sort of insecurity and self-righteousness. Um, and then I guess I'm after some of you guys were on my share yesterday. It was a big release, and I I then obviously after doing some of my morning routine came back to this, and I got this idea about the glamour shadow. And this is the whole thing about the weirdest thing about the 3D reality in such a way is that so long as we're on that hamster wheel chasing our security, chasing our freedom, and that was another thing that I'm getting just now. That's classic scenario with narcissists as well. Like I'm doing it for this future thing, and that da, 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 da. So in order to justify the present moment pain, we say, well, I'm doing it for the present. I'm like, but all that does is create more pain. And there again, when people aren't anchored in their presence field, they don't have a fucking clue what they're creating. They're just going around in patterns. They're just doing what they know to be right and then know that they can survive there. People are gripped in fear and they don't even fucking realize it because they're too busy defending their fucking fear. They're too busy defending what's underneath the fear: pain, insecurity, woundedness, not enoughness, unworthiness, trauma, abuse, realizing that you're so and so happy, lucky, blah blah blah, weren't that at all. Like this is happening all over. Oh, divine sight, legit, isn't it? Legit. I know. I know. It's one of those like if it, like you can't deny it, right? When people have a certain home environment and or people's bodies have certain locked areas, and there's always a connection, and you can almost guarantee it. You know, you can almost feel it. And then that, if anything as well, that's the whole historical thing. Why women typically are more bendy as well. We've had to become more flexible and adaptable to survive. So typically in our yoga worlds, women are just more open and bendy because they've had to be, mentally speaking, in their heart as well. And yet in a social historical, or sorry, in a social paradigm shift context, again, us being able to have voices and us being able to have working lives and economic standing in this world is a huge part of this paradigm shift, the rebalancing of the divine feminine and masculine energies within us, which is again helping us to see slowly but surely a more balanced representative in the world of politic and business, yada yada. It is happening, it's just shifting slowly. And again, there's always a bit of a backlash to this kind of change. It's so monumental. People, fuck you, don't want to change. And then eventually people will get it because more and more of us get it, right? Because there was a time that we didn't. We were just chasing the illusion um until the illusion until we never got there. Or suffering patterns took us down, or yeah, things like that, right? Took over not as a negative thing, but as a ooh, courage. That's interesting because I'm getting a a polarity. Okay, so this is also part of the new energy. So the new energies, which I've shared with you, which clearly I get a little bit excited about because it's new, and I'm somebody who really does thrive off of change. So like I've been doing these shares, and I just in the last couple of days because I've had quite a hit, and like I've lost maybe 20 subs in like the last like 2 days or whatever. And and again, that often happens when I express really loads or like and then people are like, eh. I don't know. It doesn't. Who cares? I don't. I literally don't really get triggered by the loss of subs, but there is still a little bit there. Um, However, as a responsible content creator, I was like, maybe I'm getting repetitive, or like, am I doing too much of the same stuff, or are people just getting bored of hearing the same message over and over again? And then today, I guess there's this new energy these last couple of days, which is helping me reflect on like past stories, and then this new energy. But what is really interesting is that I'm having to integrate the energy because I'm aware that I'm not able to I can feel that it's not translating properly yet into word. So I need to like noodle with it and like live with the new energy and see how it takes on form in my reality so that I can actually explain it in real time of what this new energy is and how we can access it to be free rather than be like, no, I didn't even know. Because often doubt, confusion, and just fear can take over because new energy is new in the sense of like, I mean, I don't know what this is anymore. I like like for real. Like, I don't know. Like, yesterday, I was having the trippiest moment, stone cold sober, staring at the wall, seeing the wall move, being like, "Oh, why? This is what it's like when you're high on whatever, thing." And then I was like, "But I'm just sober and I'm just observing the wall in such a way where I could feel it and sense it moving." And I'm like, "Wow, life is so fucking cool." You know? I could have been there for 20 minutes. I could have been there for 20 hours. I'm not exactly sure, but I was having a whale of a time quietly sitting, staring at a wall. Imagine that. Who knew, right? Watch the Wall movie? The Wall movie? Or, um, wait, the Dawn Wall with the climbers? Is that the one? Or, I do the the evil laugh. Ooh, I'm going up. Hamstrings are what keep us going in circles. Amazing. And then I would love to have a chat about more of that stuff, the divine sight with your awareness. Men's, what do you mean by men's flexibility has been imprisoned conversely? Well, in the way I'm interpreting that is that that is the social construct. Just like we've been programmed to be submissive, they've been programmed to be strong, not cry, not have emotion. So, their their inflexibility has been impressed upon them, right? And again, we're all responsible, right? Yeah, over eagerness can distort the message. Holy shit, yeah, that really resonates with me, Kurt. That's like the story of my life. My passion, my like my air my that like move it forward is has often been the flip like um I don't know what that expression is, like the end of me, the destruction of me is that people are just like, calm down, like, don't try so hard, don't da da da. And I'm like, sorry. Like, I just get really excited, and then the energy kind of blows people over, and then they're like, shut up, all that. But what new energies do you feel you're getting? This is what I mean, Kurt. I know they're new because I've literally never experienced these energies ever as a human. This is why I know I'm like, oh, oh. Like, that's why, like, what am I doing? I'm a child. I'm just playing. Oh my god. Oh, like we're just the new energies. They're light. They're playful. They lean into to nurturing and compassion. Like we never, like we forgot. Like we forgot even existed that kind of love and nurturing and joy and peace and not conditional. You know, just purely from the heart. I'm finding myself as I still work through a lot of the lifelong shitty patterns. What's slowly shifting is that it's not that I'm not getting triggered, it's that my interpretation of the trigger is even shifting, and or I'm just getting a lot lighter around the pain of it, especially because I move through the emotion of it. Yes, innocent curiosity. Yes, yes, and that's a very that is part of like the polarity of what breaks us open. Remembering that more people are vulnerable, more innocence and curiosity because we don't know it all. And that was somebody who really knows me would know that I'm not somebody who thinks I know it all. Just because I talk about stuff quite passionately doesn't mean I'm a know-it-all. But there again, if somebody doesn't like how you talk, then you're a know-it-all. And you're like, okay, I guess we're not resin. And there again, I'm the one who actually wrote the book, so I'm like, yeah, I do know what I wrote in that, and like I'm not claiming to be a perfect like fucking saint, but I do know that this work is continuous. And just because we feel certain emotions in the present moment doesn't mean that we're not in a state of forgiveness. I can easily be in a state of forgiveness and still be upset about something that happened to me and feel the upset. If certainly if somebody feels the need to um and or I would own that, especially if I feel the need to keep these people around, you know? And oh god, you can feel it so much. I'm so working through this stuff, isn't it? Like releasing all the shadow, releasing all the karma fucking patterns. Bleh. And like I guess the reason I'm so thankful for you guys is that this time I'm not going back, right? This time I'm like I've seen certain aspects now that I can't unsee, and I can see how it is the illusion that we create when we're under a veil of trying to please and or having a false belief about yourself. So if you have that false belief, you're still acting it out. You're not finding harmony in your relationship because you're still outworking a veil. You're still outworking a program. So those people aren't for you. They're not meant for you. They're meant to help you shift your shit. And so long as we're not finding harmony in our community or our relationships, we will we'll stay in cycles. So year after year, we'll stay doing the same hard work, the same da da da, blah, 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 blah. And this is the thing, people talk about manifestation, but they don't take action. That's another thing where I see people really, I guess, limiting their potential growth is that because of certain fears and practicalities, they don't take leaps, they don't book tickets, they don't go and do things. They just go back into making an excuse because I don't have enough money, because of da 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 da, or so and so said they were. Excuses. Oh, another really great excuse is, well, it's just lucky for you. I'm like, that's right. I know it's lucky for those of us who sit and feel all the depth of our emotions and that, yeah, this is lucky. It's lucky for me, isn't it? I just get to sit here and feel all my pain. And diligently and fiercely stand the devil down in my own consciousness field. So no matter how much pain I is in my awareness, as just shining out the darkness, shining out the devil inside, which is where it's manifestation is the weirdest paradoxical thing inside the self. It's like you turning yourself inside out and shining your essential spirit connection into the world rather than the outside in, where you're putting layers of masks on top to try to fit into the 3D reality. I'm in the 3D reality. Look, I'm being a good person. I'm a spicy person. I'm a long-haired person. I'm a fat person. I'm a skinny person. I'm in the 3D reality rather than just being like, oh, Avatar, rather than just being the epic dragon flying creators that we are. Come on, people. You're an X-Men. You're a superhero. Let's tap that shit and become epic creators, right? That absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that we can transform this world that we all be living in. We don't need those harsh, deady, fucked up, slave-based economy. We can actually be free and pioneer joy. The thing is, it's simple. People always want to overcomplicate it all, including myself, because we're so intellectual. But I'm realizing increasingly it's not the intellect small mind that can help us here. It literally is just exposing and breaking down over and over and over again so that we transform the energetic DNA structural patterns from all this patterning of limitation, that we're not good enough, that we can't be free, that we don't actually manifest. When we do, we're just manifesting a slightly shittier reality because that reality is serving very few. So it's in the service of the few that we maintain that constructed reality, which again, I'm at a point where I'm like, fine for those who want that. It's not for me. And I'm pretty sure it's not for most of you. So that divine sight is the most glorious way to like complete, because I'm like, here we are open to receive the love that we share. The moment we opt out and disconnect is the moment we contribute to momentums we don't like. Boom. 100%. Because it's like having a conversation with somebody that thinks that you're completely separate from them. Eventually, for those of us in this unified heart field expands, again, you won't be able to have a conversation because that person is constantly in essence, denying you to deflect all the stuff that's going on inside of them, right? Rather than both parties being like, holy shit, there's so much stuff going on inside, and neither of us seem to have the answer, so how can we feel through all this? But if somebody doesn't have this practice of feeling, they just run away from the first uncomfortable feeling that they feel and usually stay in pretty low level patterns, i.e. enslavement patterns, exhaustion and overwork and usually pretty low level environments as well. And again, this is one of those subtleties and discernments here, but we are very much the people we surround ourselves with, right? And then it's interesting when you hear people talk about certain people like that. I don't do that anymore. Well, actually, I probably do. But like talking about people in a hierarchical sense, I find is actually quite boring because it's not what it looks like. It's only because of my weird awareness of hanging out with like billionaires and some of the and like royalty, international royalty, and people like, again, according to the world, are like the successful people or the da da da. And again, it don't fucking matter. People, whether they got lots of money or no money, have cycles in life where sometimes they're up and sometimes they're down. And no matter how much wealth somebody has, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make them more abundant. That's the weirdest polarity. And yet, all of this self-development stuff does make us more abundant. So love is abundant, and generosity is abundant. Whether and there's the polarity. I have met some of the most generous and benevolent souls, again, super rich, super poor, and then flip it. I've met some of the most narcissistic and greedy moflo lovers that appear to have everything. They have all of it. These are millionaire chicas I grew up with who wouldn't drive me the extra 2 blocks back to my house because it would cost them an extra 50 pence. You know what I mean? So I would have these people no empathy, no compassion. This is my world, and most people, and there again, I can almost intuitively deduce the kind of upbringing those people have, is that, which is fair enough, is that their parents are like, you're never going to be like that. And so they separate pretty early on that those poor people, those other people, they're just scavengers. They're just going to try to take from me, and so I'm never going to be like that. I'm going to have nothing to do with those people. So oh, hi Dave. Off to bed. Sleep well, my friend. Guarded gnome. Oh, Jessica, thank you so much, lovely. I'm taking that cue a little bit as well. I feel the need to go offline for a few days, so thank you for sharing. Yeah, maybe just to the weekend or something like that. And it is so true, isn't it, Lori? Like, all we can do is our best, and I really genuinely believe that people are doing their best. I just want to keep doing my best, and I'm aware of like being in resonant connection with people who like I feel in love with, and there's nothing you can do about what people project onto you, and if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good. And at some point you have to stop making excuses for the fact that you don't feel good around somebody, or if you don't want to hang out with somebody, that it doesn't matter how bad they make you feel. Like, if you're always feeling bad and their life is all fine and sorted, then like, yeah, it's definitely worthy of walking away. And that's the weird flip that you guys saw in my share yesterday, my emotion share. It was like, not that this wasn't emotional, but like for me. um, oh, it's gone. I lost it. I'm rambling for England, but that's okay because England is going through Brexit. I don't know. I'm blah blah blue blue. Hi, Fifth. How are you? Actually, you were here earlier, I think, right? Oh, MJ, I sent something. Um, Brill. I sent something over to email to you. Did you know? Was it something about imagination? Thank you for the reminder. I'm gonna look over to that. Hey, hey! Look, I never saw. There's someone else. A Tardicus, which reminds me of the TARDIS, which reminds me of Time Lords. Yep, yep. Okay, cool. Nice one. I remember that one, Kurt. I'll have a look. Yes, I'm great. I'm I'm having a nice morning here with everybody. I think you were around during yesterday's share. It was an emotional day. I I it was a very cumulative day, I guess, where a whole bunch of stuff came up and out, and I saw some stuff, and I I courageously chose to let it go because I don't know how to fix certain situations, and instead of always taking on the responsibility that I somehow have to figure it out and fix it for everybody, I just decided to let go. And any of us here know that energetically, energetically, um, when any of us know, it's just always a bit painful. It's like it's like something that was just a little a little cord on your heart that you just have to and then you have to just fill that little hole up with love for yourself, and let go of that cord. Um, Molly, can I tell you that you are mirroring several of us? So divine, we're all divine. But so fifth, I'm starting to understand that a little bit better. As in that's part of why I'm being guided to show up in certain emotional storms. There is a collective healing happening. Um, oh, fuckadoodles. Yeah, but this is it's like an onslaught, isn't it? It's like a just like boom, 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 impact, impact, impact. Yeah. I've had some things taken away from me as well. I yeah, dropped the ball. Although, that's old paradigm. I'm tired of always berating on ourselves for when shit goes on. By the divine, um, I have to get a new car. And it wasn't particularly my choice, but it's gotta happen. And so now that's what I mean about the culmination of the last little bits of this of the transformational cycle, which every time I've been through these cycles, this is pretty much par for the course. And every time I hold on and think, no, 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 they're not going to take this person or this thing, or I'll be able to keep this, or I'll still be doing this, or just try to hold on to any sense of fucking reality. Nope. So it was almost just longer, deeper, more intense than last cycle. But as per my previous cycles, it all goes. The car is gone. A lot of my old circle are gone, and the ones that I've tried to hold on to, they don't. We're just we're not the same anymore. We're not the same people. And that is also part of the bittersweetness of life, is letting go of the person you used to be, and the fact that we in our mind we can often glamorize and hold on to a dynamic because it was that plateau, it was that phase. But oftentimes I think we want to go back to that weird security feeling of that phase, but we can't. So we might kind of latch on to certain people or certain habits or certain things to give us a sense of like, I'm grounded, I'm safe, like I've got it, but that's not it. We're not there yet. Like we have to go, fuck, like let go more. It's always like way deeper and way more further than what we think. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. So fifth, and that's that's a beautiful reflection. That's what I mean about this the Fearless Life guide. I'm like, there's a line in the book about not this book isn't for everybody, and like the people who res will res and the people who don't won't. And like this is what I mean about how miraculous all this shit is that this is a stuff that I channeled, really, information that came through my higher self or divinity. And all you guys around the world resonate with it just naturally. You just intuitively also felt into this way of being, and kept choosing this way of being versus the other. And same, that's the same thing. When I got the news, I sat with it, processed it, cried quite a bit, and then and then the God in me started to turn it all around and be like, this is exactly what you want. This is all working out in your favor. You don't need to turn, la 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 la. And then things line up. New reality. And then the old reality, your old reality just disappears from view. I, in real time, mega heart love vibe. You guys, we've been hanging out for a couple of hours. I I needed this today. Yeah, it's an onslaught, fifth. That's how it feels anyway. I'm like, but I guess if you're part of the controller stuff, you will just be like, shut up, shut up, shh, shh, everyone, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like they're just spinning their wheels in the mud, trying to kind of stop this awakening from happening. But I'm like, oh, too late, la! Like it's in us. We made it fun. We made it really a rather wonderful and wild ride. Washed away. Mm. You guys. So I'm just so thankful basically, and I'm amazed at how y'all have this ability to just love me and accept me for who I am, and um, keep showing up, because I too like get into the feels and sometimes feel terribly lost in it all and confused and stuff. And that's getting better, but it's still there, and this growing community, or just this present community, is to me like 15, 20 years ago when I left Canada and I knew that I was leaving my old paradigm. I knew that I was leaving a lot behind. And I left because I believed in this paradigm shift, even when other people didn't. And so, in my path and reality and world, because y'all have shown up, I actually feel like I'm living in the heaven. And we're all like, are we here? Do we make it? And it's like, I'm not sure. But there's such a relief coming. That's why I'm so emotional. I'm actually, a lot of the emotional release is actually relief of, of it being done. Especially because I think a lot of us sometimes are like, I don't have anything left. I have nothing left to give. So I'm sorry I can't do anything for you. And there again is that last leaf of like, because we're so empty and have been washed, the people who don't vibrate anymore, they don't have any idea how to fill up the cup. They don't have any idea how to love in the way that we're loving ultimately. And that's, thank God for you all who feel me. And then in all of your miraculous, divine, unique ways, reflect back like just passion and truth and integrity and a desire for ease and wellness. It's pretty fucking simple stuff. And I'm surprised people. Yeah. Are the Putin proof? Are the Putin proof? Ah, you guys, it's so amazing. You're bold. I respect that. As in, like, I appreciate everything that everyone's doing, basically. You won't believe it. Amazing. So that's sorry about your rent. Yeah, for sure. Right. And again, I'm like, amazing. That's perfect law of attraction. There's been, for many of us, a huge, again, this is the bottom of the wheel of fortune. Everything that we could have possibly been attached to from old paradigm control structures are being washed out of us. So everything's being taken away. And again, those of us who have been on these transformational cycles, that's just what happens. Hence why we're here to remind, share, and be the example for others that just bought into the slave system, which doesn't allow people room for change, although it does, and we're shifting and growing. That old paradigm is like, find a job and stick to your job and do your job until you get a pension and die. And that is the kind of depth of the enslavement system, where people just accept that as like the way. And I'm like, no, 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 that's that all of this shit is made up. Economy and money is currency, and laws, and all of it is just made up. And most of it's made up based in divisive tactics to control and dominate. So all of it is being washed clean from it, from our beingness, from the vessels that we are, because it's the vessels that are projecting out the reality that we're perpetuating. So we're doing great work. I i i say this because it's how I want to continue to work, and I'm not afraid anymore. And I'm just so ready to let go of the of yeah, of the stuff that doesn't resonate. And I'm like, oh, again, the weird polarity of letting go. I'm having a lot of emotional release, but then on the other side of all of these emotional releases, I'm feeling so much relief. I'm like, how relieving does it feel to know that I don't have to try to be somebody else to be loved? And how relieving is it that as a woman in this world, this might res with some of you, but like, unconsciously, because of the Walt Disney programming, a lot of us women, I think, are pretty much since puberty are just looking for a man. And like, literally, there's like this sort of survival, like, pain body thing going, this pressure valve of like, I need to find a man, I need to find a man, because our survival depended on it for so many lifetimes, right? And now that that's not running, it's a weird childlike feeling, but like I'm just so happy like with me. I'm like, oh yeah, like being a little kid, and I like just get to play in the fields and just get to do whatever I want. And yeah, there's some shitty shit that I need to keep looking at, but that's kind of, I think, just part of being human, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's just so liberating to realize like you're totally enough as you are, and you're whole and complete, and like you have value for this world because of the human that you are, because of the uniqueness that you are, not because of how well you can fit in to an enslavement system. I'm like, let's not fit into a slave system. Let's rise above it and create one that's nicer for everybody. So let us not here fall into the trap of idol worship and gurudom and celebrity worship. Instead, be your own guru and love yourself fully. And then let that self love highlight areas in you and your whole life that aren't as loving. And then just keep loving and just keep loving, because holy shazbot, then people from all over the world turn up for your life, and they turn up to love you, and they turn up to support you as well in the most miraculous ways. You guys know who you are. And it's not like for most of us, like, because money's never been a driving force, we're so used to being super duper broke that it's like you don't need that much, you don't need that much when it comes to just like joy. Sweet CC, you're here. um so yeah, I don't regret it. I don't regret a thing, you know but yeah, letting go and having everything is always a bit intensey wensy, isn't it? Hey, driving to the airport, are you picking someone up, Rochelle? Because surely I don't think that you're flying anywhere today. Trailblaze the path that led to each other after figuring out where we are to begin with self-mastery, love. Yeah, I guess that's part of the uniqueness of the self-mastery and embodiment, and then the teacher is the embodied master. And then ultimately it is the truth. That's resonance connection. That's vibration, is that we can then attract more of that likened energy from various parts of the world and empower that in one another via the online community to keep it growing. And I'm working here with, like, again, I obviously this shit's coming up for me. That's the resentment, the jealousy stuff, the kind of burden. This is stupid of me, but like going around and looking at like stuff on social media. And why do we do this? We do this when we're not feeling that great about ourselves. We go look at other people and say, see, everyone else's life is fantastic and mine is a pile of shit. And then at some point, the lovely part of you is like, my life is so awesome. I have a beautiful life. And like, life is weird. And there's just so many parodies. I've never used that word before. Elda, the wall moving grids. The wall moving grids. The wall moving grids. Randomly, I don't know why, but that is literally making me think about how all these emotional storms that we all share, or I share here, and sometimes you guys tell me that you're also storming whilst watching. So all these storms in my awareness are like the walls of the system. They're control trigger points. So increasing what's happening every time I go into storm, I get to this bottoming out point of like, and there's nothing left. I don't. Oh my God, this stuff is just so subtle. Like, it's so subtle between like the discerning of the energy, and or like where basically the subtlety of where we're focusing our energy and the intention behind it and the commitment behind it and the desired and the belief in that manifestation, right? Like, it's just so focused, right? I snapped it. Oh, sweet CC. I snapped at a couple sales guys today. Poor babies. Yeah. And then I have this little fiery part of me that's like, no, not poor babies. In fact, they probably needed a good shouting. Like, I don't know. I'm just because I'm so aware of this weird thing the empath does of like constantly go around and like, oh no, I snapped. Oh no, because recently what I had at it was like people where I was in this pattern where I was always the one like freaking out or getting upset or da da da. And they would just sit there like stone cold, non emotion, being like, you're being crazy. You're being, and I'm like, okay, so me feeling all this stuff, even though you're directly reflecting me, I am the only one. I'm the one acting crazy, but but it has nothing to do with your projection. You have no fucking responsibility for how your counterpart is feeling and expressing herself right now. She's just annoying. She's just irrational. She's just making up some shit from her mind, and her feelings, her projections have nothing to do with me. And that's where the abuse starts. Because you're then not in a heart-based co-creative experience, you're in a control and domination experience where someone is mentally trying to put you in your place where they want you, not where you want to be, where they want you. Which is why in our energy as an empath, this is me discerning lifelong emotional abuse patterns that you can literally feel it. When you don't want to go somewhere, it's because you don't want to fucking go somewhere, so don't do it. If you're in an environment and you feel like walls are closing in on you, you're being oppressed. And again, it's not people. I think people think I'm being dramatic, and no, I'm not. I just know that the more aware we become, so we're people who are not endeavoring to drop bombs and start wars and give a shit, right? So we're conscious humanity pioneering a world peace, essentially. So okay, great. Everybody wants to just focus on the 3D paradigm of abuse, but I'm like, how are we even getting to that point? We're getting to that point of physical abuse because as a collective, especially the privileged few, they don't own anything. They don't take responsibility for any of the stuff that's going on in the world around them. But they'll fight damn hard to protect their privilege, right? And to protect, we're not da da da, like this is my group, this is my family, we're fine, we're good, da da da, nothing to do with those people out there. I don't have any fucking culpability or responsibility for anything or anyone around me. And how dare you ask me to consider your feelings because that's not my point of attraction. We're all chasing to be able to dominate one another because our ego feels better dominating than it does feeling like a victim or feeling like a slave. But in truth, this heart of unity, this heart of love, um, doesn't have walls. It doesn't like it sees through, it cuts through the bullshit. Basically, the heart of love just shatters it all. But if people aren't carrying that much love for themselves, your heart of love basically just triggers all of their shittiness that they've not looked at. So they get annoyed, they get angry, and then they don't sit with their annoyance or anger, and they just project you to be a really annoying person. I'm like, okay, so there's no way whatsoever that we can meet because there's only one person being emotionally responsible. And there again, people want to go, well, I'm working and I'm doing all this 3D physical stuff. And I'm like, but you're not meeting me on beyond the veil. And like most of us endeavoring this work, we need to be now hanging out with other people who are tuning to the higher self and vibrating and living it, not people living in denial of their truth. And in fairness, at this point, it's so fucking convoluted that all I can do is run with my truth. All I can do is run with my feels, my movement, and basically sidestep people that make me feel like shit about myself. Because who fucking needs it, right? It's kind of like that. And I'm kind of apologetic about it because I've got so good of hanging out on my own. I'm like, and I have enough really, really lovely support and you guys that it's like, sweet. Like I'm good to go. I know the difference. I get it. I get it how manifestation works. There again, people deny one another because of our own ego shit, and I don't deny myself really. So, anywho, don't listen to them, MJ. You're great. They're all gel. And there is the weird empath. Do you guys ever have that? So you say that, which is like obviously like I'm like thank you, but I'm aware of like not being cocky, arrogant, or egotistical, which does happen to all of us sometimes. But then this is part of that weird overcompensation thing of the empath was that they're just jaw. had actually a really hard time even admitting, like, that other people were jealous and that they acted badly, you know? And I've been, like, almost, like, beating my head against a wall being like, "That was real." Like, people have treated me shit because of their jealousy and then lied about the fact they felt jealous, and then I'm yeah, and then I'm like, that all that persecution energy, that's real for a lot of us, and if here's this thing as well that I'm hitting up against with this sort of bifurcation is that if people haven't been there in themselves, like, if they haven't really for example, like, people who have never really left the nest, there's no way that they're gonna be able to vibrate the depth of some of the life lessons you've learned if you have. You know, if you've cut ties with the family of origin and you know what it's like to go somewhere off in the world and make a way for yourself without any family or community or people that you know, just like a random person alone, and then you look for ways of integrating roots and finding a home somewhere new, like in a foreign land. Some of the lessons you learn as a person like that are really profound, you know, about human behavior. And as a free spirit, as a wild woman, I'm increasingly aware of how, you know, people are frightened and people often just out of their own fear just stay small. Just don't challenge me. Don't fucking ask me for more because I'm done. I don't have anything to give you. I don't want to deal with that. And you're like, okay. So yeah, big ol' 2-hour therapy session on YouTube with MJ. Don't love TV. Bitter pill feels better in the belly. Right. We are one, just perception of our own aspects, right, and so that's the truth of it, me letting go of, like, my old self, and that's why it's better just to cut it off and let it go because ultimately, all the uncomfortable, shitty feelings of, like, blaming and attacking one another, that's what we're letting go of, certainly for me. I would love to not have to, like, let go of people necessarily, but it's just been the way it's gone. I've always just been here, like, doing my thing, usually, like, often alone. A lot of these people that I share about that I've been in abusive situations with, I'm aware, I'm like, "They're there, they know that I'm here." There's multiple channels and ways to reach out. People could any of these people at any time that I had run-ins with or burning of bridges, they, like, at any point could have reached out and been like, "Hey, how are you? Hey, I know things were" and the reason I say it like that is that I'm open to that. As in, I'm not burning bridges, I'm just stepping back from certain energetic dynamics, but what's interesting is I do that, these people that were so close or loved me so much or wanted so much from me, like, they suddenly don't reach out, they never ask you how you're doing, they just have no contact, so you're like, "Oh, okay." But then there's other been this part of me, I guess, who is, like, wanting to observe it one more time and, like, really look at that construct because this is the weird thing about healing abuse, we're familiar with the abuse. That's why it's so like, "What's fucking going on here? What's fucking going on here?" Because we're repeating a veil, we're repeating an energetic pattern of perception. None of it's ultimately real, but we're fucking doing it to ourselves. And it's not again, it's not about blaming the other person, it's about going, "I'm doing this." And again, I wish it were fucking different, but in my reality, it usually comes to that point of having to let that person go because that is what that cycle represents. They're not necessarily the person you project onto them, but they are the energy that you ask them to represent for your personal growth. That's the thing. When we've been so fucking used to being abused, we almost miss being abused because we think it's love. And we just keep processing and thinking, if I could just be good enough, if I could just work hard enough, if I could just love enough, then they'll love me. Then they'll want to show up for me. Then they'll want to fucking do stuff for me. And it takes great strength to say, I'm done. I do deserve more. I do deserve freedom just like everybody does. And I don't want to ever let anyone make me or anyone else feel less than. And like, yeah. It's easy to judge people. It's less easy to let ourselves break down and feel vulnerable. And especially when someone we love is getting annoyed, again, and I can honor that. That's what I mean about noticing like childhood patterns are facing me again. Making connecting dots that you didn't even fucking realize were there. But then as soon as the dots connect, you see it and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm acting it out and I'm doing it and you represent this person and da 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 da," and then you're like, "I need to fucking go. I need to be done with this." And yeah, it fucking hurts because so much of who I thought I was isn't even true, and yet I'm grateful and I'm relieved because that stuff was fucking painful and I just carried the pain for so long. You know? And I swear to God, like right now, what I'm going through, this is just healing from abuse. This is just feeling like relieved and just like, oh my God, I don't have to go back. I don't have to keep justifying and defending myself. I don't have to keep trying to be quiet or lowering my voice or be less emotional or work harder or I don't or stop smoking weed or whatever, or you shouldn't drink as much coffee or you should wake up later or you should make more effort or you should. I'm just so fucking thankful to have the awareness to say no. I shouldn't actually, because I just want to be me and I just want to be free. And the thing is that for a long time, me making other people happy felt like freedom. It brought me such a joy. And then I don't know, along the way, it just started to get all twisted. The more I followed the rules, the more twisted my life became. And in essence, I'm just somebody whose life is a lot better than it used to be. And I'm here to tell the tale and I'm here to share what I did and what I continue to do, which is this. My vulnerability and my presence here is because I don't ever want people to be under illusion that transformation and energy work is like easy rainbow love light. It's dark territory. And that's why I would never try to manipulate people into working with me because I don't ever want people to be under an illusion about what it takes to transform your life. It takes grit, It takes boldness. It takes fucking courage. You know? It ain't all rainbows and butter. Like, it ain't. There's no rules for sure. I just laughed as I was like crying, and I almost had a moment where I thought there might just be a little bubble of snot, a little bubble of snot that comes out for you guys. What's better than blowing snot? Honestly, I don't know. My God, you guys are hilarious. You're cracking me up. I just read, I'm like blowing my schnozzles, and then I read Vision of Truth going, ha ha ha, let it blow, let it blow. Oh my gear. Oh my good God. So I've got just a couple sessions today. I know, and like this is the thing about my professional world. I know. So there's here, hi, 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 and then all of you besties that can hold space and be with me and like not get triggered by everything I say, and then I have my sessions where I just love how the days flow, and why it is so important for us to be in purpose is that that's was the thing about the yoga and then the online coaching is that no matter what was going on in my interpersonal life, when you're doing what you're meant to do, it always feels right and you can pretty much always show up. Like for results. Like even I would do this and then just have a little like And then I have this, so in my working life personally, it's especially with the increased online coaching stuff, it's like it's fascinating how it works because it used to happen in yoga situations where before a private yoga session or before a yoga class, I'd often start intuitively getting download for what was coming through. So especially if I'm working with people who are rehabbing trauma or something like that. Pardon me. Pardon me. Um, yeah, like literally the 15-minute before having session, I'd start to get an intuitive sequence of what they need, and hence why intuition is like legit awesome when you work with people because that way intuitions are communicating. So my intuition brings through what their intuition is telling my intuition they need. So you, as a practitioner, it's like you can pretty much have a perfect, awesome session each time because my ego doesn't do the work. My soul is what is working, right? So you just let the soul take over, and then people pretty much get exactly what they need. However, they got to come to me. I don't go looking for clients no more because that's old paradigm. My heart is open, and the beings and the people who are meant to be guided into this paradigm, they'll find it. They'll find us, they'll find you. It's just where it is, right? And I think that's another aspect of why I love to share here is that all that money shit does really bug me, and I love and infinite resources, whatever. But like, I'm not interested in control, domination, or manipulation, right? And so, really, this platform is like, we get this, right? And I'm here for everybody, and I don't want to deny people, and I want to love people, and I want to support people. At the same time, I'm also learning how to really love myself and support myself, and da 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 da. And so, I'm discerning who, where, what, where am I putting my energy, da da da. What am I getting back? If I'm not getting anything back, if I'm not getting anything back, cut, right? Find exchanges that are benevolent in their exchange, right? And yeah, and I'm a legit practitioner where I might have I usually just keep it low and then tell people just if they didn't enjoy, well, I'm not asking for the remainder kind of thing. So it's never about the money. In truth, the truth is it's about this transformation, it's about this expansion, it's about helping people, making people feel better about the people that they are, but at the same time helping to shine back and understand to them what they're doing inside the self to transform and keep up leveling. And my god, it is relentless and it takes a little while, and certainly in our quick fix mind set programming, we all want it now and we want it yesterday. So it's like we don't want to do the work. We don't want it to take time. I want to manifest it yesterday. And then we get angry, then we get upset, and then our egos get in the way. And it's the purification of the false ego. It's the purification of that extended identification externally that we're transforming. And so I'm increasingly just having a sense of like, I don't even know who I am other than this heart which feels a whole bunch of stuff, and like I'm being guided on some divine beautiful glorious path that up until most recently it's been just suffering. In a lot of ways, I've had different moments in my different transformational cycles where of course I just wanted to go back, and I was like, I don't want to be this person. I really wish I could just be normal. I really wish I could just fit in, blah 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 blah. And then fortunately you ride that out and you come into integrity and you find that it's like you're really really happy to just be who you are, right? Mwah! I'm already a vegan and a water faster. Ooh, interesting. Oh, black. Same. I know, right? But hot lava bush. And there's the thing of like being around the normal convention of this world, and so many of us, it's like the outsider watching it, being like, guys, we don't have to be miserable. We don't have to accept this as the reality. We don't have to. And people are like, oh yeah, great. Like that's again so much of my life was just like you're just being really idealistic or you're just being da, da, da. And I'm like, that makes sense in my mind. you know and it's the grit, it's the depth of the work. It's also, I think, what's come out of actually having been a very disciplined person where even though people, again, with my sterner vibrage or my lightheartedness, my kind of joyful elixir essence, they people judge it, label it, think that I'm a space cadet or that or what have you, when it's not that at all. I'm an academic, actually. I just don't believe in the privilege of academia, so I left academia, you know? And there's a lot of righteousness. There's a lot of elitism in our modern academic institutions because they're born of the system. They're born to divide people. I hate to say it. And I'm not putting it down because I know there's value in it, just like there's value in our yoga TTCs and all of this stuff. But I don't think that's the end of it. I think the whole system is undergoing transformation. So the way that academia plays a role in our world, that has to change. You know, we can't use our intelligence to fucking control and dominate each other. That sucks ass. Why aren't we using our intelligence to unfold a more beautiful world? And I say that in love and grace because I know that it's true. I know that there's more and more and more and more and more humans. And even though I'm not raging and a crying to die, like I'm premenstrual and I know that 5 days 5 days before my period, I'm just gonna want to cry nonstop. And you better not get in my way. And then I say that with love and light and love and lightness. And I say it with very little shame because so many of us women have essentially been taught to totally shame and deny our bodies. Oh, you're just being moody. Oh, you're just being premenstrual. I'm like, there's a reason that we have this cycle. We might as well use it to our benefit and not just shame ourselves. And that was part of me leaving again some certain communities, was that, you know, it was fine to talk about mindfulness and positivity, but I wasn't allowed to talk about the feminine cycle and our blood and the denial of our cycle and the shaming of our bodies. Ew, I don't want to talk about periods. Okay, so let's not talk about a really important sacred piece around our creation aspect. Let's not talk about it because it's bloody and it's gross. So yeah, that's the messaging for us women. Our bodies are gross and disgusting, and we might as well deny them, but let them be used for breeding. Okay, thanks. So thank God we're coming out of the dark ages of barbarism and starting to love ourselves as whole beings again. It's really important. Um, Women are so beautiful. Thanks, Elliot. And men are so handsome. People, myself included, get caught in relationships, jobs that don't serve us. Oh man, for sure. As in, I'm like, that is the legit. That's just all of us. I think. I'm pretty sure. Um, you know, and yeah, men are so beautiful too. And yeah, we all get caught. And I guess that's part of like what I'm always saying is like, or not always saying necessarily, but like how I'm always feeling into it. It's that that's the love piece. That's the compassion and unconditional piece, is that not going on the blame. And I know like I'm working it out in my head is that I'm so aware of how other people's projections, they would think that I'm lying because I'm aware of their perception of me and that I'm acting it out for them, but they're not aware of that kind of thing. And they just keep denying that their feelings are creating the reality, basically. And yeah. Um, oh, and I was going back to like yeah, to clear the annoying people out of your space because you're highly connected during the menses. Like that's the pre and moving into that depth. There's a certain bout for most of us where alone time is super sacred. I want to be alone. And that was like another aspect of claiming being myself by choosing to be alone, but feeling bad about it and then having somebody come in and encroach in my space. And it didn't end well because I didn't want a visitation. I didn't want someone in my space. And so I removed them. Um, and if I can give myself a bit of time to process, I don't think I'm gonna want them back in the space because it's been too painful. And yesterday I just realized I'm like, wow, there is a part of us that's like addicted to the pain almost. So I'm like really seeing that part of my ego as well and being like, yeah, I can let that go too. Like I don't need to forever hold on to all this shittiness and poverty and talk about people that are, I don't know. It's just I notice myself acting out those behaviors when I hang out with those people. And I'm ready to break free. Even as familiar and lovely as it looks, I'm like, I don't want that because it doesn't feel real. So if it doesn't feel real, my intuition is trying to tell me something about the illusion that I'm projecting onto the situation. That the illusion that I'm projecting, the fantasy that I'm in my imagination, is not where this present connection is. It's not what we're both reflecting or carrying. It's something else. And then if you get really clear and hold space for yourself, you can start to see what the something else is. And the something else is usually that you're being manipulated and controlled or lied to. And it can be very covert. Those people can think they're not, those people can even be in such denial that they don't even think they're lying to themselves. They think they're just being themselves. And I'm like, yeah, but you've been in such patterns of protection for most of your life that you think your patterns of protection are true. You think that all the ways all the other people around you act is true about the people. People forget that what we say about other people is what we do. Our judgment against other people is what we do. But remember, judgment is different than offering a heart-based loving clarity. Especially when we know we're coming from a place of truly wanting the best for people. If you truly want the best for yourself and other people, then that's what you want. And sometimes, yeah, it can be tough when people challenge our ability to grow, or people are hitting up against a nerve, an energy nerve, and then we don't want to look at it. Yeah, we are the other people as much as we are ourselves. Hence, be with and then let go. I know, and that's why at some point I think when it's done, it's done. As in there's a karmic, that's what soul contracts and karma, I guess, in karmic patterning with relationship is about. It's that like we're gonna be in someone's life as long as we're gonna be in their life. And then when the lesson has been learned, the lesson's been learned, and then we've grown. And so we don't want that. We don't unconsciously invite those lessons because we've seen them and we've learned from them and we've grown from them. So as much as we can die to the process, let go, we know that the letting go finally is actually bringing us into new manifestation, more money, more love, more aligned community of epic creators, a bunch of awesome weirdos who just love each other. And who love everybody, but specifically, especially, a little bit of nugget juice for the other weirdos, right? Ah! Oh. Oh, I have a friend calling me. I'm gonna go, you guys. I love you all. I wish you well. This has been a great chat. Seriously, I cannot really express to you enough how much I appreciate you guys showing up for me. I'll keep showing up for you. Yeah, I just have mega hot love vibes. It's MJ. I'm gonna give you a little hug, you guys. Like, I know. I know that really what it looks like is me, MJ, just hugging her laptop. Just hugging her laptop. But I'm actually like in my heart love, like giving you guys a big group hug. And yeah, just I'm so impressed with us hanging out for a couple hours together. Virtual hugs and mega love. I know, I feel it too. I think that's why I do it. I do the love hugs. I know this chat is awesome. I'm so thankful. Again, words I don't feel match the intention of what I feel, of how much love and gratitude I feel for your guys' love. And showing up at just the divine timing, because honestly, like, just laugh. So crazy. So easy for you and us. I know it is, and it's getting easier and easier straight up, because suddenly I'm like, wow, it's no more bullshit, no more covert lies and manipulation across the nation. Like, it feels really different when people genuinely get you and aren't here to steal. I love you guys. Have a great day. I'm out.